history always repeats itself. It's really interesting how the Founding Fathers, when you read their words and their complaints against England, it's very similar to the complaints against constitutionalists today.
Defending Utah covers the stories others are just too often afraid to touch.
They don't nibble around the edges when it comes to pointing out threats to our liberty. They're not afraid to name names and call out organizations.
This is Defending Utah Radio. Defending Utah. Think right and wrong, not right and left. Join Defending Utah, because if you're not already on a government watch list, you should be.
Welcome back to another Defending Utah radio program. This is Ben McClintock from defendingutah.org, where we think right and wrong, not right and left. And today I want to go into some history because it helps us to understand things that are going on today. History always repeats itself. It's really interesting how the Founding Fathers, when you read their words and their complaints against England, it's very similar to the complaints against constitutionalists today. We are always complaining about how the government is always violating the Constitution and how the government's not authorized to do this or the government's not authorized to do that. Well, that's exactly what the Founding Fathers said. They would actually say, hey, what the king's doing is unconstitutional. A lot of people don't realize that there was a constitution that England was bound to, and that the king and that Parliament was violating it, and that was a lot of the complaints that the Americans had at the time, the colonists at the time. And when you read their words, it's like, are these articles of a constitutionalist written today? No. These are articles written by, and these are words written by our Founding Fathers. And it's very interesting to see the similarities between those. And so that's what we're going to get into. But I want to encourage you to please, if you like what we do, go to defendingutah.org and click on the membership tab and choose a level of membership that's right for you. This provides us both, this provides us with the ability to be able to do the things that we do, come out with new reports, go out and do investigative journalism, be able to organize, and also provides you with training to be a better activist, provides you with tools to be able to educate yourself and others. So please consider going to defendingutah.org and becoming a member today. Nullification was a major point of contention in the Founders' Day, just as it is today. Just as it is controversial today, the right of nullification was what separated those that supported independence and those that supported loyalty to the crown. In November of 1765, Parliament enacted the Stamp Act, a direct tax requiring many printed materials to be printed on paper produced in England. The fact that Parliament would take such actions affecting virtually every part of life in colonial America enraged the colonists. Objecting to the notion that Parliament was supreme and could impose whatever binding legislation it wished upon the colonies instead adopted the rigid stance that colonists could only be taxed by their local assemblies. This idea, they said, stretched all the way back to 1215 and the Magna Carta. Like constitutional originalists in our day, the colonists claimed that the Stamp Act was against the British Constitution and therefore null and void upon the people. The Massachusetts legislature proclaimed that restricting taxation to local legislatures was one of the main pillars of the British Constitution. Now, isn't that interesting? Because today we think of, the king could do whatever he wanted, and that was really upsetting. No, the king himself in Parliament was limited in what they were allowed to do. So to help build support for nullification among the people, a group called the Loyal Nine, led by Samuel Adams, gathered a group of supporters to burn an effigy of Andrew Oliver, the person charged with enforcement of the Stamp Act, which led to his removal from office. Now, these bold acts by a few dedicated individuals forced the everyday colonists to make a choice. Since obtaining material without the stamp was impossible, one could choose to go on living his life as if the act didn't exist, or stop all business so as not to disobey the law. Most, to the surprise of the British loyalists, chose to defy the illegal act of Parliament. Now, today, people claim that Congress has virtually unlimited authority due to the commerce, general welfare, and supremacy clauses. During this time, loyalists claimed Parliament was supreme and could impose anything they wanted onto the colonies. These loyalists defended the idea that the colonists were represented because the merchants interested in colonial trade were represented as a class in the House of Commons. However, when the colonists proclaimed no taxation without representation, they meant no taxes should be levied unless the legislator was accountable directly to the people being taxed. The Loyalists tried to get the colonists to support reform and fought against the anarchy of nullification. Oppression could never be real because Parliament was subject to the conscience of public opinion. The founders knew, though, that liberty was often destroyed at the hand of so-called public opinion. Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Virginia passed resolutions stating that only local assemblies that were directly accountable to the people could tax the people. From burning private property to tar and feathering, the colonists took steps that many today would call extreme, but in fact were essential steps in enforcing the law, the Constitution, on a group of criminals masquerading as a legislative body that refused to obey the law they swore to uphold. Inspired men like Samuel Adams understood the steps needed to restore liberty to the British subjects and used his influence, however small, to restore the liberty of the people. Remember, the Sons of Liberty started out as the Loyal Nine. If you feel like there are too few people willing to stand for liberty against would-be tyrants, we need to learn the lesson from the Founding Fathers, namely to do what is right and build your local teams to build support for the cause of freedom. If we want to be more than just observers, but have an effect on restoring lost liberty, we have to stop being cowards. We are in the mess we are in because otherwise good people are acting too cowardly, and in that cowardliness, we are allowing evil to flourish. There was a man who heard people around him murmuring, quote, "Oh, I don't want to put my name there. I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. I don't want to stick my neck out." Well, when the Founding Fathers signed the Constitution, they stuck their necks out. They gave their lives, their liberty, and their sacred honor so that we could have this. We are giving it away, and we say we don't want to stick our necks out to save those things. Now, if we are to receive the blessings of God, we must be willing to stick our necks out. Claim it, use it, defend it is the principle the Founding Fathers worked off of in their fight for freedom. It is what the Bundys were standing for. The phrase that they used a lot was we must claim, use, and defend. And they were acquitted of any wrongdoing by a jury. Not by the government, but by a jury of their peers. Now, we must understand, though, that liberty is not debauchery. This concept of standing up against the government when they attack essential liberties is at the very foundation of our government. Our nation was founded upon the idea that your rights came from God, and that the only role of government is to protect those rights. However, though, this is not an excuse to just do whatever you want. If you cannot be self-governing, you deserve any chains you may be under. As Benjamin Franklin so wisely said, only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become more corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. However, a self-governing people like the Founding Fathers did not beg would-be masters for permission to be free. After exhausting all reasonable efforts to reason with the king, they engaged in their God-given responsibility to claim, use, and defend their liberty. The term the founders used was nullification. James Madison explained that the federal government was not the final arbiter of what was legal and what wasn't. He said, quote, "There can be no tribunal above the state's authority to decide in the last resort whether the compact made by them be violated." The compact being the Constitution. That's in the writings of James Madison, page 349. It was the states that created the constitutional compact. The creator was and is superior to the creation. Who created the state governments? The people. Again, the creator is greater than the creation in authority. So what was the remedy for the creator when the creation went beyond its bounds? Jefferson proclaimed, "A nullification of the act is the rightful remedy." And that's in the Papers of Thomas Jefferson, Volume 30. Statements we believe to be revelation speak of this as well. In the Doctrine and Covenants, section 98, starting in verse 5, the Lord says, quote, And that law, which is constitutional, and then there's a comma, so he explains what's constitutional, supporting that principle of freedom and maintaining rights and privileges. So that's what's constitutional. Those things, those principles of freedom that maintain rights and privileges, they belong to all mankind and is justifiable before me. Therefore, I, the Lord God, justify you and your brethren of my church in befriending that law which is the constitutional law of the land, those things that maintain rights and privileges. And as pertaining to law of man, whatsoever is more or less than this cometh of evil. Now, anything that supports freedom and maintaining rights and privileges is to be befriended. The Lord then says that anything that does more or less than that is evil. So what do we do with evil? Verse 11 says, quote, I give unto you a commandment that ye shall forsake all evil. We are not to be a party to any evil law as defined above. We must understand that compliance is support. When the United States was trying to take away the liberty of the people of Utah, John Taylor defiantly said, quote, I defy the United States, end of quote. In 1886, the first presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints declared, quote, God is superior to governments and courts. If it is not constitutional, he says it comes of evil. It must support the principle of freedom in maintaining rights and privileges. If not, it comes of evil. Whatever is contrary to the freedom guaranteed by the Constitution, he does not command his people to obey. End of quote. This basic fundamental principle is explained by President Joseph F. Smith when he said, quote, if lawmakers have a mind to violate their oath, break their covenants and their faith with the people, and depart from the provisions of the Constitution, where is the law, human or divine, which binds me as an individual to outwardly and openly proclaim my acceptance of their acts? End of quote. Clearly, there is none, and it is our belief that we have a heavenly mandate to forsake that evil, no matter the earthly cost that evil might try to inflict. Am I any better than those that came before? They literally put everything on the line. Why would I think that I could get away with less and expect the same results? Now, standing up by yourself, it's hard. It's scary. That is one of the reasons why we founded Defending Utah, is to help us find strength in one another, to see that we are not alone, that someone has our back. Violence and force is the government's game, not the citizens' game. We just don't comply with their evil anymore. Any satanically inspired government has no right to force us to pay for the murdering of babies here and abroad. They have no right to our private property. They have no right to compel us to beg for permission to travel, to use our property, to work, or to trade with others. If they want to use violence to enforce their will, that's up to them. But as for me, I don't believe in ever cooperating with evil in hopes that evil will become good. This has been McClintock with DefendingUtah.org. Now, again, we encourage you to share our articles and our podcasts with others to help more people understand these foundational principles of liberty, so then we can all join together. Please go to DefendingUtah.org, and if you like what we do and you want to be a part of these efforts, click on the membership tab and decide on what level of membership is best for you. Until next time, I'm Ben McClintock. Think right and wrong, not right and left. This Defending Utah presentation brought to you in part by Anderson Accounting, andersonaccounting.com, Trust Plumbing, 801-808-5470, Higher Calling Firearms, highercallingfirearms.com, Pioneer Family Scholars, Black Lotus Web Dev, blacklotuswebdev.com, American Appliance at 801-254-2566, Shem Financial Services, 801-856-6151, and the law offices of Garrett T. Smith, 801-477-1570.
It's a fact. More photos of you are being taken than ever before. Are you ashamed of your smile? At last, a new technology that gives a brighter and healthier smile in under 2 hours. And it's fully warranted, so you'll never have to worry about your smile again. Call Dr. Jeremy Thompson at Thompson Dental, 801-254-0835, or visit GoNewSmile.com, and we'll show you how you can restore your faded, yellowed, or worn teeth without surgery, crowns, or implants. And it's backed by a 30-day, 100% satisfaction money-back guarantee. This scientific breakthrough will painlessly transform your appearance in one visit. The smile you've been waiting for will never cost less or look brighter than it will today. Call 801-254-0835 or visit GoNewSmile.com. That's GONU Smile.com to revitalize your smile. New Smile. It looks good on you.